Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. On today's show, we'll feature Dawn Griffith, the Artistic Director for The Basement, and Stephen Mayberry, the President and CEO of the Saskatoon Airport Authority. As always, we'd like to connect with you.
Tweet us at Shaw TV Saskatoon. Follow us on Facebook. Check out Shaw TV Saskatoon on YouTube to watch past episodes, or email shawtv10@shaw.ca with any future guest or topic suggestions.
The Saskatoon Airport is actually a gem when you look at many of the airports across Canada and North America, and many of us take that for granted until you go someplace and really appreciate what we have at home. Stephen Mayberry is the President and CEO of the Saskatoon Airport Authority. He's here with us today to give us some insight into what's happening and in the future as well. Stephen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to just talk a bit about yourself. You've been with the Airport Authority now for a few years, and maybe just a bit of your background on how you came into this role.
Absolutely. 17 years in the airport business, starting out with the Greater Toronto Airport Authority, moving on to the Charlottetown Airport Authority, and then into the most recent, prior to this, CEO role of Southport Aerospace Centre, which is the Southport Airport. That's where they actually do all the primary military flight training for the men and women who protect this country in the Air Force. So all that training is done at that airport. And from there, I had the wonderful opportunity, and it's just been over 5 years now, in the role here in Saskatoon.
So in that 5-year period, I know when your predecessor, Mr. Restall, was there was a bit of a transition, and a lot of the construction, I think we talked that it just is ongoing. But just traveling recently, last week, coming through the airport and seeing a number of others, I'm quite proud to call that my airport. What was the basis for some of that construction, and where are we in that whole continuum, if you will, of construction?
Right, and thank you for the comment for being proud. We certainly are, and we do hear that from the community. The foundation for all of this is our strategy, our corporate strategy, which is to be the most valued airport experience in Canada. And what we did is associated this back in 2013 with our board of directors, and we got a very simple and a resonant value proposition. And that's one, to deliver air service to the community at a high service quality with operational excellence. So that really fits into the foundation of the level of the high quality construction that you see occurring, and continued investment in assets and projects at the airport. So, and what really drove some of that is the central piece is the guest, right? So we make sure that this is a guest experience. We're not in the infrastructure business. We're in the business of satisfying our guests and their increasing level of expectations always. So certainly at the beginning of my tenure, it was the post-security environment. So the big expansion, the doubling of the square footage at the airport, which was our largest project, just a little over $50 million in that investment. And I've had some great responses to that. And I share that with our team as well as our partners at the airport. That's the one key driver of success at airports, is collaboration. There are over 1,600 workers at the airport. The Airport Authority only represents 3% of those. So the ability to collaborate and work with everybody, that sort of informal leadership, is absolutely imperative to make all of our goals and objectives happen. And you see that in our new terminal, and we hear this consistently from all of our guests who feel like they're in a modern, chic terminal. And yeah, we're very proud of that.
And I appreciate that, because I found that it was very much like your living room in sorts. I mean, you have a fireplace here and there, and more amenities, thankfully, past security, and that's a changing world. But one of the things I recall that we were maybe a little subdued about was that we had one of the shortest distances to park your car and carry your luggage of any airport in Canada, or pretty close to it, for an airport our size. Is that something that you hear from the general public, the traveling public, that we want all of these things like that?
Of course, walking distance is something that the guests are very
Especially when it's cold out.
concerned about. From their, their experience from their door when they leave, to when they park, to coming in our terminal building, to being processed through security, and eventually getting bags when they return back on arrival. So yes, we're focused on that. And it does drive a lot of value. You know, some of the other things that we were very concerned about in terms of the guest is the level of satisfaction that they get with the experience while they're in the terminal. So things that are required for our guests are very, very strong Wi-Fi connection, okay, and a simplistic way to log on. So these type of things really were inherent in the project back there. Another thing that you'll notice, you know, that differentiates us from other air terminal buildings is the multiple and very convenient locations of adapter plugins. And we hear this consistently from our guests. You know, because you will notice as you travel, this is not the airport where you'll find people sitting up against the pole.
We're just going to say that.
Right, on the ground and sitting against the pole. So we focused on those key elements, comfort, sense of place, windows that, you know, the huge natural bright light coming through so that you can see the prairies and have that feel are some of the consistent messages that we get from our guests as they use our facility.
I think just looking back, because I've lived in the city all my life, I mean, we used to have the observation deck, and, you know, that always sparked an interest in aviation for a number of us. And if you look at the windows, I mean, if we had one more generation back, I mean, it was off limits to kind of see where the airplanes were and what was going on. And I really commend you for giving us that experience right now. What is the passenger volume that the airport would experience more or less today, and do you project and target that type of connectivity to Calgary and Toronto and Vancouver for international flights?
Absolutely. So our focus is global connectivity. So we call it one-stop connectivity. So yes, we're focused on what we term non-stop, right? So your non-stops to Toronto, to Calgary, to Vancouver, to Minneapolis are incredibly important. The more important piece is the connectivity in those hubs with which you reach, right? So the network expands. So, and that's how we work really, really hard with our airline partners. And one of our most important business partners there, because they're the ones that deploy the aircraft, these incredibly expensive assets and operations into our community to connect us, right? To move people and goods to their destination, be it for business or be it for pleasure.
When you look at the connectivity, you know, with Delta, for example, naming names to Minneapolis, is it always with an eye to a major hub and then from there to an overseas destination, or let's say perhaps Florida, or are we starting to see some of the charter flights into, you know, a little more of the remote, you know, Central America's type of destinations?
We are seeing an expansion of the charters. The advantage of having a hub is, as you explained, it provides greater connectivity through that hub. So yeah, we actually manage and by a metric that's called passengers per day each way. We know what the top 5 destinations are for originating passengers here in Saskatoon. That way, when we go out and market this to the airlines saying, have you looked at this particular route and would it be profitable and viable for you to, and as low in risk as possible for you to start or expand that route? That's the type of analysis and work that we do. Our charter program is strong, but it's primarily sunspot destinations at this point.
When we look at what we're doing with the city, and, you know, with growth comes more opportunities and more opportunities to travel to different places. But it also presents a challenge, I would imagine, for you and your role to accommodate more vehicles and so on. What's happening on the ground right now in front of the terminal?
Right, there is a lot happening, is I guess the short term, and the elaboration on that is that the infrastructure and the capacity of our road system, of our parkings, your entire groundside experience was meeting its age in terms of life, and was also at the same time not providing the capacity looking forward. So that's the start of where our development team sits down and says, what type of development meets the needs of our guest? And in doing so, what was very, very apparent to us, and we've heard this from the community on many occasions, is that they want more diversity in selection and choice of product for parking. So what we did was, the project that you see out there right now is in phase 2 and will be completed this year. It will go from a single lane frontage road along the terminal building to a dual lane. The inside lane will be a commercial lane for all the ground transport, taxi, a couple new products that we're excited to launch. The outside lane will be a public lane. Therefore, we've got double the capacity, which increases our safety. which provides more room for vehicles to move around and more spaces for different types of operations. In addition to that, we've developed a new, what we call shuttle parking area. So we now have additional parking spaces somewhat off-site. It's just a little over 700 meters walking distance from the airport, and there will be a shuttle vehicle that will go from that location to the terminal and will pull right onto the inside curb and drop you off to board or deboard the aircraft through the terminal building. So that's one new product that we're excited to offer. So that'll be at a discount, right? And I do encourage your viewers to go to our website, sign up on the email registry so we can start get you some of these promotional codes and discount codes, such that, for example, if you are a family and you're looking to go away for 2 weeks, that there's an alternative product as opposed to right now where you have one choice. And you either pay that per day or you look at an alternative mode to get to the airport. This will provide a discount perspective to you. We'll also have the main lot, which is what you experience right now, will be our standard product. And then very close to the terminal, we'll have our short-term lot, which will now be a segregated product for people that want an express option. And then finally, for the first time, we'll have a premium product here in Saskatoon. It's called valet service. You can drop your car off on the inside lane to a dedicated lounge. You drop your keys off to an attendant who will then take your car and park it for you. You will proceed right to security and have priority screening boarding. Get on your aircraft. When you come back, the car will be waiting, backed in on a 45-degree angle at the curb, ready to go for you. In addition, while you're away, we're excited to offer some complimentary programs such as getting your oil changed, having the car washed, dry cleaning, etc. A number of products that can be completed for people that don't necessarily have the time to do all of these things and would appreciate this level of premium service.
Can you tell us, just to close out, what the future is going to bring and what we can expect for that?
Yeah, and staying on the ground side, that our future will be over the next 2 or 3 years is the what we call the departures hall. So you've got the post-security experience when you go through security screening. That's fantastic. We're now focused on the pre-security. So when you're checking in your bags is primarily, and processing, et cetera, at that point. We're looking right now, we're in design and moving to construction in terms of a brand new baggage system. So that system has been lifed. So behind that magic wall where you hand your bag in and it is processed, that'll all be a brand new system by 2019. So that'll be happening. The big design component will be before that, with the guest experience, what the customer actually touches. And in that level, what you'll see in the future is very much automation. So we will be testing and looking at automated bag drops. That is where the customer who does not require a face-to-face interaction with the customer service agent from the airline, could simply walk up to the bag drop their bag off, have it processed automatically, and walk away to security. The whole idea being efficiency, right? Efficiency of the process, because we know we're trying to minimize queues, trying to offer diversity, and ultimately give our guests way more control of their journey.
I think it's the perfect place to do it, and I'm proud to call it home. So I want to thank you and the Airport Authority for the work you've done, and I wish you all the best in the upcoming year. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.